second. Publish YouTube broadcast 60% is what it's telling me. I don't know what that means. There we go. Alright, I think we're live. Folks, it's been a while. It's been a very long time since I've done a live stream, which is a shame. I'm so sorry about that. But we're gonna sit for just a little bit, let people sort of come on in here, ones who remember that I exist. If my audio is no bueno, you let me know because I can't hear it. I have no idea if my audio is any good. So if it needs adjusting, please let me know on the fly. If you are watching this after the fact, know that, hey, sorry, nothing I can do about it. You gotta be here watching it live to tell me that my audio is garbage. So, I don't know what else to say other than that. If you hear a weird crunching noise in the background, that's my dog Penny. She's chewing on a bone, and I'm gonna let her chew on that bone over there because she deserves it. She's a good girl. All right, folks, we're gonna be discussing the assault that I experienced, the assault and robbery, of which I was the victim, not the perpetrator. And I know there are some people on my channel that don't think it actually happened. I'm very excited to say that there is proof that it happened. We're going to be watching it today. And we're going to just hold off on that for a second, though. We're going to wait. I'm going to wait to see if anyone else joins us before I start the shenanigans. You want me to bring Penny over here? You want me to go interrupt her bone chewing? Penny, do you want to be on camera? That looks like a yes. It looked like a yes. All right. Hold on, folks. Hold on. Oh, you're so big. All right. Don't knock that over. Oh. I can say hi to the people, Penny. Oh. She's very cute. I don't know if you could tell. Alright. Alright. I'm going to go put her back. She's going to knock over everything. Alright, sorry about that. I can go eat your bone. Okay. There you go, folks. Yeah, at least I wasn't crying after being pepper sprayed. I mean, the other protesters who got caught in the blast, they were having a real rough time. They were, a couple of them were on the ground screaming. Not that I am happy about that, but I took it a lot better than they did. I think it helps. What are you doing? I think it helps that I've been sprayed before in training environments. This is the first time I was ever sprayed for real, right? In a situation that wasn't controlled and safe. So it was a little shocking to me that the events went that way. I didn't intend to cause that issue. I didn't go there to be an antagonist, and the fact that that's the way things went was very surprising to me. I expected maybe a little light assault, because I had experienced that before, but I didn't expect to be dragged down and beaten. And I'll be honest with you, the situation was much worse than I thought it was. Watching the video, I didn't realize how bad it could have been. Now, I was wearing steel plates. I discussed that in my live stream right after the incident. I was wearing steel plates. I didn't feel most of the hits. I had a little bit of bruising on my arms there, a couple very minor scrapes, but most of the strikes against my body were to my back, which had the steel plate. So I was, I thank God for that, because we'll watch the video and you'll see exactly why I was so shocked that I was able to walk away from it. And I want to take this time, before we even get into this, I still support your right to protest. I think it's important to understand how to lawfully protest. If you think that the message that you need to get out requires you to break the law, I'm not going to stop you. If it's that important to you, okay. You know, if you think it's absolutely necessary to draw attention to your cause, by burning structures or cars, whatever. I'm not going to tell you no, but I am going to explain to you the consequences of doing that, and I'm going to have zero sympathy for you if you complain that there were consequences for illegal actions, right? If you want to protest in an unlawful manner, protest in an unlawful manner. I'm not going to stop. I'm not your parent. But there are consequences to that. And if you think the risk is worth those consequences, if you think your actions justify whatever is coming your way, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm just very frustrated that people are like, what? The police stopped us from burning down a building? What are they thinking? Of course they are. Anyway, but that's my rant. BLM, I still think they have some excellent points. I think they have some points that aren't so excellent. I would love to have discussions with people that are sort of in a leadership position within BLM and talk to them and give them my personal view on what would work and what wouldn't work based on what they're trying to accomplish. I think that we'd really be able to help each other out. They'd be able to articulate why they feel they need the things that they're requesting, and I'd be able to explain how the system works a little bit better and the best way to facilitate the changes they want. I would love to do that. I'm not their enemy. I'm just explaining the law here. People on Twitter are complaining that I'm not actually lawful neutral, as my Twitter account says. And that's true, but I try to be lawful neutral, which just means that I'm going to explain to you how the law works, and it's up to you to determine whether or not that's good or bad. So, yes, comments here says, it really could have been very, very bad. You looked at because you were prepared. Yes, I was prepared, and I would not recommend to anyone that you repeat what I did. And that's not because... I say that because it is very dangerous. I put myself in a situation that I expected to be very dangerous. And I'm not going to say, oh my gosh, how did that happen? I can't believe these people were like that. It was surprising, but not totally... I was ready for it. And I know what to prepare for. I am a subject matter expert when it comes to riots, riot control, the mentality behind them, and the police response and training. So I know what I'm getting myself into better than most, I would say. I was prepared. But there was still a lot of luck on my side. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling, waiting for people to show up. It's been 8 minutes. So, let's begin. We're going to start a little ways back. We're going to start there. So I've been documenting these protests for a while. And you haven't seen all my footage. You haven't seen all the things I've been to. I don't know if I released footage from the Chaz. I have it. It just wasn't interesting enough to make a video of. I went there, and it was pretty chill. A lot of graffiti, but I was pretty chill when I went. But this right here, what we're seeing, let me pull it up real quick on my screen. What we're seeing here, this is one of the first things I went to. This is before CHOP was even a thing. This was the occupation of Cal Anderson Park, the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week protest that was happening. And it was so cool. It was so cool to see. And it's reflected in this video. It's not a very exciting title. Not too many people have watched it. Only 339 views. And it has a lot of dislikes. But it was a lovely protest. There was live music. Right here. Let me turn my audio down. All right. So, yeah, this live music that was really cool. You had... Let's get this guy. People giving out food to the individuals who were participating in these 24-hour protests. You had sign making. You had these rallies. There's a lot of misinformation being spread, which is unfortunate. But the event itself was amazing. And I had a single issue where someone was like, I want you to ask my permission before you film me. And I was like, oh, okay, my bad, right? And I did ask permission to film some people, the ones that were distributing food. I'm like, oh, do you mind if I skip ads real quick? Do you mind if I film you? And people were coming up to me and thanking me for filming the events. They were, it's extremely hard to make out. Oh, Hold on. Oh, can I make the video bigger? Yeah, hold on. Oh my gosh, you guys are so needy. All right, there we go. Look at that. All right, so yeah, it's so this. I went here and I was like, wow, this is actually really amazing. People are being pretty chill. You know, they're chanting their slogans. There's some stuff that's being said. The classic example I've been giving is one of the people who had the megaphone was like, we're talking about Breonna Taylor and we're talking about, I don't know, she's over there somewhere. We're talking about George Floyd. Why aren't we talking about this man in Seattle that was shot while carrying his baby earlier this year? And people are like, oh, yeah, that's outrageous. Why was he shot in the face while carrying a baby? Right? He couldn't have been a threat. Well, the reason is because he had spent 4 hours beating up his girlfriend and then abducted the child. And the police killed him to save the child's life. That's why he was shot in the face. So there's a lot of context that's lacking. That doesn't mean that the movement itself is no good. It's just that take everything you hear with a grain of salt, especially as we're coming up to an election. I mean, it's an election year. So the amount of disinformation in an election year so I'm not saying that they intentionally were spreading misinformation, but they were receiving misinformation. And if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, if you're independent, a centrist, whatever, understand that misinformation is being spread to you from your own party. Democrats, Republicans, everyone is being spread. Don't think that you're not getting misinformation because you agree with the stuff you're hearing. It doesn't matter what political side, right? Everyone is getting misinformation right now. So I'm not going to blame anyone for having that bad information. Well, I'm not going to blame them too much. But understand there's a lot of it out there right now. Fact check your stuff. Fact check me. I could be misinformation. You don't know. Anyway, so this protest was incredible. And I made this nice little music video. And it was delightful. I was very glad that I went. Next, I had a friend go. This was after the CHOP thing. When I went, I had a friend go and film this for me because I wanted to use him to film my my shake and bacon videos where I go ghost hunting, which I filmed one. I'm still producing them or doing the production editing. So I was like, hey, you want to get used to this camera system that I have? Go film this thing. And then I edited the footage and it was like, wow, this is a sovereign citizen leading this protest. So this one from the footage, it was still pretty chill. But a lot of misinformation. And no one apparently had a problem with him filming. Everyone was really chill with it. And then I went to this one. And this one we remember as the one where I was first assaulted. Where I walked up and I was like, hey guys, how's it going? Lovely day. And they blocked me with umbrellas. And I was like, you can't block a public sidewalk. You have to allow pedestrian traffic. And then they started pushing me. And I got, pushed toward the wall. Someone hit me with a bike. I mean, I'd say hit. It was a push. There you go. So yeah, I was shoved towards the wall. It wasn't like a harmful assault. It wasn't something that would have left, any damage. But that still is offensive contact. It still was an assault. And this is sort of the time, the July 29th, where we started to see more violence, like significantly in Seattle. And now there was violence already. But they were sort of like, it was at night. It was these specific protests where like you kind of knew that it was going to be violent. This one was out in the open during the day. I didn't expect this at all. And this is where it really started to become worrisome. And then at the end, when it was night, I had to get rescued because people were like throwing bottles at me. There was an incident as well. Like it wasn't just like, oh, who is this guy? It was all the news crews were having this problem where people would come and block their cameras, like legitimate news crews. And I have it here somewhere. Penny, what are you doing? She's playing around. Where is it? I'll find it. Maybe not. I think it's over here. But you'll notice if you watch these videos, I'm not being an antagonist. I'm just standing there filming. That's not my intent, of course. And this guy wanted to give a little story, and I was very happy that happened because he said some very interesting things. Anyway, I don't know where it is, but you'll see if you watch this video, Meeting Seattle Antifa, you'll see that the other news crews were having the exact same problem. And talking to some people in the industry, they're like, look, it's not the police who we feel are targeting us, it's the protesters. And one of the reasons why the press is being targeted right now by these protesters is around this time, when this was filmed, during that week, like right before this, I went and filmed this, a subpoena was issued to, I think, 5 of the major news stations to give unused footage to the police to help them identify people who'd been breaking the law. And of course, this meant that all the protesters were like, oh, you have a camera? No. No. You're not going to be here. They don't have the legal authority to stop that. I have a constitutional right as a member of the press to film. I got myself a press badge. It's not real. It's fake. I don't need a press badge in a public street or a public sidewalk or a public park. That's absurd. But I got one just because people were being very upset with me that I didn't have one. I figured to keep myself safe, might as well. Erish, thank you. Yeah, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. That's going to go towards... What am I going to use that for? Probably a GoPro that I can modify to make infrared for ghost hunting. It's fun. It's a good time. Anyway. And you might think, oh, he's editing his footage. Like, we can't trust this. But then I had a live stream. For those of you who watched this, we had a lot of fun there. It was a pro-police event, a demonstration, where people were like, no, don't defund the police. And then there was a counter-protest. What are you doing? Squeaking your toy there. And the entire thing was live streamed, no editing. And you noticed I was just walking around. I wasn't antagonizing anyone. There was an incident where someone was yelling at me, and I was like, come closer so I can hear you, because I did want to have a conversation with them, but a reasonable one. And then I think the only other time I really spoke to them was when I was telling the woman who was distributing squeaky pigs that I thought it was hilarious, and she wanted nothing to do with me, so I backed off. Oh yeah, Boombox Guy. Yeah, this was the one with Boombox Guy. Yeah? Okay. Getting very excited about Boombox Guy. Anyway, so this, I mean, the quality isn't great because it was in the middle of, 1,000 people who all were using the internet. What are you doing? So, shush, I'm doing things, girl. Anyway, so, hey, look, there's nothing I can do about it. She's going nuts over here. I know. All right. So, I mean, I have this pattern. Like, I was talking on Twitter. Oh man, I was riling some people up on Twitter. It was the Tacoma Protest Network. Oh, look at this! A police officer released a blast ball, in order to declare the protest unlawful. Like, well, no. The police responded to a protest that was unlawful. It was being conducted incorrectly, in the sense that they didn't have they were marching on the street without a permit, and they turned a corner and there was this lone bike patrol, right? Lone officer on a bicycle, and like this crowd of 25 people started walking towards him, and they may have just been turning the corner to walk down that street, but it very much looked like they were going right for him, and so he dropped a blast ball at their feet. It was like, nope. You better back off, because blast balls are used to control and disperse a crowd. And so as they're walking towards him, it's completely, I think, reasonable, and I think most people would agree, it's reasonable for him to be like, I think that they're coming after me, considering the behavior that they've displayed recently, which is attacking police officers, attacking police cars, trying to burn down the East Precinct multiple times, trying to seal the doors and burn it down with people inside. Like, are you kidding me? Why would you not think that the police officer's like, ooh, I should probably drop a blast ball? Right? And so they were saying this, and I was trying to explain this to them, and they were getting very upset with me. And I was like, protests haven't been violent in months. I'm like, yes, they have. I've been to them. Right? Like, do you not think sealing a building and trying to light it on fire is peaceful? I don't know what to tell you. I've been assaulted. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I haven't been assaulted. Like, yeah, you probably wear black, carry an umbrella, and fit in. That's fine. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But I wore an orange reflective vest and did not fit in. And the reason for that was because there are a few reasons I do that. One is so I can find myself in footage if I need to, which was very helpful in this circumstance. Don't worry, we're going to get to that footage. Hold on. I'm just explaining the events up to it for context. The other is so that if the police move in to disperse the crowd, it's very, very clear that I'm not a member of this protest. I'm not participating. I am a member of the press. And in Seattle, if you're a member of the press, orders to disperse do not apply to you as long as you're not in the way, right? So I would step back, let them pass, keep filming, and there should be no problems. And I haven't had a problem with them yet. In fact, when I've been to these protests, it's always been the police that were much more... They responded much more positively to me than the protesters, which is something that a lot of people are like, no, that's not what I experienced at all. That's what I experienced, but I'm also not participating in the protest, which I think helps. And as a member of the press, I think it is important to try to remain impartial when going to these things. If I filmed the police doing something wrong, I would absolutely make a video on that. Absolutely. But I haven't seen it yet when I've been there. All right? I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I just have not personally experienced it. And for those of you who are like, you're not a member of the press, well, technically I am. As long as I have a message to deliver and an audience to receive it, technically I am protected. By the First Amendment. You can find the ruling from the Supreme Court on that. Hurley versus Irish American gay, lesbian, bisexual. Hurley versus Irish gay, lesbian, bisexual group of Boston. Is over there. Anyway, and so a lot of people are like, you're not the press. I technically, legally am. Even Washington State law supports that. So Penny's going nuts over there. She isn't usually like this. It's hilarious. So, there's an entire live stream showing how I go about this. And then, of course, there is this live stream where right after the attack, right afterwards, they took my camera off my back. I wasn't sure where the one that was on my head was. I assumed it fell off, but it's gone now. It's gone forever. I was assaulted, but we're going to see a video of that. Penny, what you want to come here? No. I'll pull her out eventually. So we have that live stream as well. And there have been a lot of comments on this live stream like, oh, you're a liar. Most of you have been pretty cool about it. Let me see if I can find the... Penny, where are you going? Well, now that you're out of there, I'm going to come grab you. I'm not so sure I'm buying this. Your face will be much redder smelling BS on this one until I see further evidence. Someone in the chat was saying, like, oh, no, his eyes were very swollen. I thought he got punched in the face. Not everyone's going to react the same way to OC spray. I guess my face doesn't get red. Also, the lighting probably didn't... I'm sure it was red, but I was definitely sprayed. I definitely remember getting sprayed. James Brown asks, why would you not have gone live? You would have all the footage. That is true, and if I go back, if I go back, I'm going to be very, very careful. I'm going to do it with people to pull me out of there if I'm not backing down, right? Because when they're like, hey, you can't do this, I was like, no, I can. And I didn't back down, and maybe I should have for my own safety. Legally, I didn't have to, but for safety reasons, probably should have. But James Brown, it's a great question. Why didn't I live stream it? Because I don't want my phone knocked out of my hands and lost forever. The phone's kind of expensive. I use that phone for a lot of things. And that was a concern I brought up when I was doing this live stream. I was like, I really hope nothing happens to my phone. It makes me uncomfortable not having it strapped to something. Like with the GoPros, they're strapped to my body. Now, obviously, that didn't really help me out too much, did it? But that's my concern. So if I do live stream, I'm going to be much, 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 much more cautious just for the safety of myself and of my phone. Yeah. I'm not putting myself like, because that one, this one, the intent was to go walk amongst the protesters and film. I'm not going to be doing that again. She's going nuts back there. That's not going to happen again. Yeah, it was scary, and I didn't mean to scare anyone. For those of you talking in the chat. I didn't mean to scare anyone. It was more I was in shock that they had responded that way to me. I didn't realize the danger I had been in, but I feel like maybe now's the time. What you guys wanna see the video? Now I'm gonna let you watch it without my commentary, and then we're gonna watch it a second time, and I'm gonna. What are you doing? And I'm going to pause it and explain what's happening, because not everything you're seeing was the way it actually looks, especially near the end. So, here we are. I am this guy in orange right here. The quality's not great. This was filmed with a phone, from a computer screen, from a security camera, and then uploaded to the Facebook, which degrades the picture even more. I've told the police. I did file a police report. Someone's like, "Well, why didn't you file a police report? Obviously, if this was real, you would have filed a police report. So it's not real." I did file a police report, but I'm not sharing it with you guys because it has my personal information on it. It has my phone number, my address. I'm not sharing that with you guys. That's absurd. So they have, I assume, the original of this, and at some point I'm gonna, see if I can get it from them. Or contact the company itself. I just haven't got around to it. So there's me in orange, and it's probably not going to be that easy to see, but there's this little black thing, like strap. That's where my camera was. And we're going to watch it. I'm going to not say anything, despite wanting to. And yeah, this guy right here. It's nuts, right? So, this video starts right as I'm being sprayed. And the events leading up to it is, I was trying to walk this way, and a crowd formed and blocked me. Now I was like, you can't obstruct this sidewalk. That's disorderly conduct. That's illegal. You guys are trying to peaceably protest. I recommend not doing that. And they're like, no, if you're so concerned about the laws, you should leave. Like, oh. Well, now we can't claim this is a peaceable protest at this point, and they were not happy about that. I started to see people circle around behind me, and so I got worried. I'm like, I gotta get out of here now. So I tried to push through them, and this young, tiny little lady, who had earlier committed the crime of harassment by saying she was going to mess me up. Her language is a bit stronger. It wasn't a conditional threat; it was a real threat. She said, "I am going to hurt you." This was earlier. She pulled out a can of OC spray. She said, "Leave now, I'm going to spray you." And I'm thinking, I'll take a punch. I don't want to take OC spray. Joke's on me. I did. I took both. And so I'm like, all right. I'll turn around, I'll walk away. And as I turned around and walked away, I start feeling myself. It felt like I was being kicked in the back. And so I turned around, like, don't kick me, because I'm getting mad. Like, what is going on here? It's starting to piss me off. And as I turn around and say, don't do that, I got sprayed. I mean, that was a somewhat threatening gesture. So I went, don't. But I'm a soldier. I knife hand, right? It's those of you who have served or know anything about the military. Knife hands. Yeah. Right? And I got sprayed. And I tried to put the person who sprayed me in an arm bar. I succeeded, but you can see me like blindly flail. It was a good arm bar. It didn't look pretty. All right, so we're going to watch this. And you see me here. And this is when I turn around to be like, don't kick me. Because they've opened up back here to let me leave this way. And you see the spray right here. And it's a big spray. And there I get hit. And I'm backing away. I put the person in an arm bar here. I don't know if that's who was spraying me. I was blind at this point, guys. I'd like to take this time to point out what I remember happening is not what I'm seeing here. It's very similar, but there are differences. One being I was blind. I couldn't see what was happening. So my orientation, I thought I was facing this way. Turns out I was facing this way. And that's very interesting. It's something to remember, especially as an investigator, which is what I used to be. People's versions of events may not always be 100% accurate, right? They'll think it is. But what I remember in my head happening is not what I'm seeing here. And that's a very fascinating, it's a whole phenomenon about that. You study it in psychology, if you ever take those kinds of classes, psychology. If you ever taken those classes, I've taken a college class in it, and I found it incredibly informative. I recommend everyone do it, really. But yeah, so put this person in an armbar, basically to stop the spray. I didn't want to hurt them. I didn't want to injure them. The armbar was the least physical way I could stop the spray going in my face. It was basically just getting arm control. And I do that, and I get grabbed here and pulled. At which point, I'm told by the medics I dislocated someone's arm. This is the only time I had someone's arm. So if I dislocated it, if that's true, it was when I got pulled. Right? It wasn't because I bent it too far. It was because I had a real good grasp on it, and I got yanked. And that will pop something out of a socket. Not my intention. I made that very clear to everyone on the scene when it got brought up. I was like, no. It wasn't my intention to hurt anyone. It wasn't my intention to hurt anyone. And there's a reason for that. I'm going to give you the logic behind what I did and why I did it. One, because it's true. Two, because if the police got involved and they questioned why I dislocated someone's arm, I wanted my story to match the story of people on scene. Maybe not everyone, but at least the medics would hopefully be able to give that side of the story. Do I think the police would be mad at me? I think they'd understand the circumstance, especially with this footage. So anyway, I got pulled. I got pushed into the wall. I do remember being pushed into the wall. I don't remember getting pulled. I remember getting grabbed by at least two people and pushed down. So that surprised me to see, I got yanked. But like so much was happening, I don't remember getting yanked. I do remember getting pushed down against this wall, right there. And I'm against the wall with my hands like this. I'm covering my neck. I know I've got the steel plate on my back, so I'm not too concerned as long as I protect the head, because I don't want them to, hit me, knock me out. If I get knocked out, it's over for me, right? So protect the head. And I know that if I fight back, I'm outnumbered. It's just going to, one, legally, I have less ability to claim self-defense if I'm going all out. Now, looking at this crowd, I think I would have been okay. At the time, I was blind. I didn't know what was happening, right? I was doing this by feel. I'm like, there's a wall. There are people. Got it. Protect the head. The other reason you don't want to fight is because it's just going to make everyone fight harder. So sort of be passive, make me look like the good guy here because I'm not fighting. I'm just getting beaten up. That doesn't make me look bad. But if I'm throwing haymakers, it's not going to look as good. That's my line of thought. I thought this happened for a couple seconds. It did not. It went on for a while. That's a long time to be getting beaten up. And I say beaten up like they were hitting me in the back. I didn't feel it. Steel plates, guys. They are amazing. I recommend if you're going to go protest, wear steel plates. Not for any nefarious illegal purpose. I'm not advising you to break the law. But I'm saying they are incredibly effective. When I was an investigator working that detective stuff, we used to have some fun with the police, with the MPs. And I'd say, like, check these out. I'm wearing these stab plates, these steel trauma plates. Hit me with your baton. And I had them hit me as hard as they could with this big metal baton. And it would, throw me forward a little bit or backwards. But you couldn't feel it. They're amazing. But that's enough of that. So here, the medics came and pulled everyone out. And they grabbed me and they started treating me, which is what you see here. That's a medic holding on to me. And here's where it gets fun. This person's on the ground just screaming at me, screaming expletives, very, very mad. And I turn around. I'm like, are we going to keep doing this? We're not done here? Right? Because I'm in this mentality like, I'll fight as long as I have to. If it's, let's go. Wrong mentality. I'm not proud of it. But I was angry. I was real mad. And so I turn around to re-engage them verbally, not physically. I turn around like, oh, is that what we're gonna do? We're gonna keep this up. And the medics just grab me and just whisk me away. So this isn't me being pulled off to be beaten up more. It looks that way. I know it looks that way. I want to make it very clear that's not what's happening. They're pulling me away to get me away from this crowd, which is the best move. Then they treated me. They are incredibly friendly. I even brought up, I'm like, why are you treating me? I'm apparently the enemy here. Like, nobody. And they're like, we don't care. You got sprayed. We're going to help you. absolutely incredible. And I every video I've talked about them, I've made it very clear that they were incredible. They did a great job. I will say that if you are participating as a street medic in these protests, you are not immune from orders to disperse. You are still subject to use of force to get you to disperse. And that's just heads up if you want to participate and do that and make, do incredible things. These medics were doing incredible things. Thank you so much to them. You are not immune from orders to disperse. Just a heads up. Just legally good information to have. But they did an incredible job. They were incredibly friendly. I still have the little bottle of like Visine eye drops that they gave me. They were fantastic. They saved my bacon. And then I walked to the car. I did the live stream. Got into my car. Turned on the air conditioning. And put my eyeballs in front of it for an hour. So, yeah, that's the situation. That's the evidence I have. I'm sure there will be more evidence, better quality picture. But, I mean, I got beaten up. My cameras were ripped off of me. And medics rescued me, and I never saw those cameras again. Still haven't seen them. I have my dummy camera. So the GoPros are gone. I had a dummy camera that wasn't recording. The reason I had the dummy camera was because I wanted to recreate what I was wearing here when I was first assaulted. I want to see, was this a one-time thing? Is this how it's going to be from now on? Like, what's happening? Oh, this is the situation where the news crew also got pushed back. Anyway, I wore the exact same thing. But I wasn't bringing my nice fancy camera, so I spent $25 to get a camera that didn't work. Well, I'm sure it does work. It's like an actual film camera, like takes a film canister. There we go. See, there. This is like the real news guy. He's part of like an actual news crew. He's getting pushed back. I want to wear the exact same thing, sort of recreate the circumstances. Is it going to happen again? Just being present. Is that the problem? And so I had this dummy camera, one, to do that. And two, because if I'm recording audio, and I'm recording a private conversation, because here in Washington State, it's a two-party consent state, so you need the consent of both parties in a conversation to be able to record it. Now, in public, you don't really, if it's not a private conversation, but if I accidentally recorded a private conversation, which is possible in a public space, I didn't want to get hemmed up for it. However, Washington State law says that if you're acting as a member of the press and your recording equipment is like readily visible, something like that, then you have a legal defense, because people should know that you are recording and that their conversation around you will not be considered private. So that's why I had all of that. And of course, the camera that didn't work, I held on to because it was around a strap in my neck, and I was grabbing it when I went down. But the ones that were just attached on elastic did not survive. So when you see me in this, I think you can see the camera around my neck at some point. So for those of you like, yo, you still have a camera. Yeah, I had 3 cameras, only 2 of them worked. And of course, the one that didn't work was the one that I held on to. Like an idiot. Right? So, yeah, that's not have that face thing. So that's the situation. That's the video. So what are your questions, folks? Let me read through your comments. Also, look at this lighting I have now. I got a new light to light my face for these streams. Which I know my lighting has been kind of garbage since forever. But I'm hoping to fix that. And not just that. While you guys are asking your questions, it does a bunch of fun things. For example, what? Changes colors. Now, if I do this, it makes my face green. Then the green screen gets all weird. And anyway, blue, of course, the classic. But messes with the green screen, unfortunately. Pink, gross, weird, yellowish, greenish. Anyway, but yeah, it's fun. It's nice, a little ring light. All right, they'd had to file a report anyway in reference to your armbar. They press charges, you know who they are. That's true. If they press charges, I win. But they're not going to press charges. Mob mentality. Oh, let's talk about mob mentality. Mob mentality is incredibly, incredibly powerful. I've experienced that mentality. I've had to take myself out of a crowd because I was getting riled up. Not in the same way they were getting riled up, but I was getting very sort of aggressive. And I had to walk away. and I consider myself a pretty reasonable person. Everyone is susceptible to mob mentality, and so I'm not going to blame them for going. I mean, I am going to blame them a little bit, but understand that it is a very real thing, and no one's immune from it. It's incredibly powerful psychologically, and so I think that's, I'm sure, what's happening here, to a degree. I'm not saying that excuses their actions, but mob mentality is a huge deal for everyone, not just BLM and Antifa and whatever, but really any protest. Which is why I advocate, like, if you're going to go protest peaceably, if you want a peaceable protest, you have to police yourselves to calm yourselves down. You have to actively keep people calm in a protest. This is true. You have to actively do it if it's becoming like this, because it's not going to go away on its own. A situation that is building to the point that we're seeing in this video is not going to de-escalate on its own. You have to actively de-escalate that as a member of the protest if you want it to de-escalate. Oh, Cam, yeah, Cam is also around Seattle. You know how it is around here. Now, yeah, okay, so you say medic, real medic, or pretend medic. They may have been a medical professional. They weren't, like, licensed and, like, by the government to be a medic at this protest, I'm sure. But having been sprayed before for training purposes, I know how it's treated. You know, because we had actual medics on property when we got sprayed. Their treatment was identical. So even if they weren't real medics, they knew what they were doing when it came to OC spray. Now, I've seen plenty of videos of the medics being terrible. Like, oh, let's put a tourniquet on a minor scrape. Like, are you kidding me? How foolish are you? Right? But these ones were great. I can't say anything bad about them. I really can't, even if I wanted to. I have my own medical training, all the way up to combat level trauma, and I found no faults with them. Isn't the green light weird? I know. All right, was it worth it? It is now that I have this. Where's my hand there? This footage. If I didn't have this footage, it would not have been, because the whole point was to document the thing, and I got sprayed and beaten up, and I was like, well, it was all for nothing. But now it's not all for nothing, because at least I have something. It is less worth it than it would have been if I had kept the footage I took. I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to put myself in that exact situation with the gear that I have, without like a helmet and hockey pads, and a crew to keep me safe. I will go back, film with like a telephoto lens if I have to. Maybe I'll live stream with some friends that are there to basically pull me away. But I'm not putting myself in that same situation. So, yeah. I am nobody. It says kind of like domestic dispute. You try to arrest the man beating the woman. She will try and stop you, and so will the whole family. Not always, but yes. One of my areas of expertise was domestic violence. I was the guy who got called to that sort of thing. And yeah, there are times where there's an obvious issue, and you'll arrest the husband or the wife, and the spouse will try to interfere and be like, wait a second, hold on. Oh, you're taking them away? Like, yeah, of course, they just beat you. You're bleeding. And but they still care about the person. And as someone was saying, emotion isn't always logical. I get that, right? And I'm trying to be very reasonable about this. This whole thing is, I know that I put myself in a bad situation, and I know that my mentality is incredibly powerful, and I know that this was an emotional response. I get that. I know. Legally, were they right? Absolutely not. But do I understand it as the victim of an assault and robbery? Yes. I don't agree with it, but I can wrap my head around it. Cam, this was a, I don't know if you remember hearing about the East Precinct where the protesters sealed the doors, or tried to seal it with like quick drying cement or concrete, whatever, one of the two. I don't actually know the difference between the two. I know one has more rocks in it, I guess. They tried to seal the doors and light the building on fire. The doors did not seal in time, and the people who were inside the building, because there were people inside the building, managed to get out and put out the fire. That was this protest. I was not there for that event. I left before that happened. But these people, they were there to cause trouble, and I picked a bad day to show up and document it. So no, this was its own little protest. The pro-police protest happened a few weeks prior to this, I believe. I'd rather wrap their heads around a collapsible baton myself. I love collapsible batons. I've found them very useful in my line of work. I've never actually used them, but they're great. I've never used it against a person, but sometimes if a crowd's getting rowdy and you whoosh, whip that thing out and you just, get back. Works a treat. Never use it against a human. Hope I never do. Glad I never did. I don't bring that type of stuff with me, though, because then I'll be tempted to use it. The Kyle Rittenhouse situation, right? Where hold on. Kyle Rittenhouse, self-defense. Yes, his actions were in self-defense. However, he was wrong for having a firearm. He was wrong for bringing it to another state. He was wrong for potentially using it to defend property, although he used it to defend his own life. His actions were self-defense. However, he probably won't be able to claim self-defense because he was committing a crime at the time. And was it Wisconsin? Wisconsin state law. Was it Wisconsin? Whatever state he was in. The state law says that you can't claim self-defense if your self-defense happened while you were committing a crime, which he was. So, poor choices. I think he's an idiot, but self-defense. But because he had a gun, he used it. I don't carry OC spray. I don't carry baton. Legally, I could justify it, but I don't want to use it. I don't want to hurt anyone, even as a police officer. Especially as a police officer, I never wanted to hurt anyone. I wanted to help people. And if I bring these tools to defend myself with, I'm going to be a lot less likely to back down, a lot more likely to get myself in a dangerous situation like this one. And I'm going to use it. I'm going to hurt someone, and I'm going to get hurt. I don't want to do that. I'd rather my option be retreat than let's bring it on, let's go. And that's why I do that. Is that smart? Maybe not. But I'd rather get punched in the face, once than hurt someone when I don't have to. What else we got? My light's in my way. I'm just the old light there so I can see what you're saying. Did I open a can of whoop-ass? No. I got the arm bar, and then they pushed me down, and I knew that if I tried to get up and keep fighting, my back was against the wall, and I was outnumbered. And that was not the right move. And by staying down and protecting myself, which worked, all I had was bruises along here and some minor cuts, which I assume is when I had my hands here, someone probably hit me in the arm. I just didn't feel it because that's bone. And then I got hit in the steel plate, so I didn't feel that either. I knew that this was my best option until someone broke it up. And if no one broke it up, I was preparing to fight back, but I wasn't at that point yet. And that legally I would have the best defense, being like, no, I was obviously not the aggressor. Look at me against a wall on my knees getting hit. So it's Kyle Rittenhouse did not bring the rifle across state lines. Well, his mother gave it to him, I believe. His mother brought it across state lines. And if she gave it to him in the state of Wisconsin, she is actually guilty of a felony because he used it to commit manslaughter or negligent homicide or murder or whatever they're going to charge him with, whatever he's going to get convicted of. I'm sure he's going to get convicted of something. In the state of Wisconsin, it becomes a felony if you give a minor a firearm that is then used to kill someone. You are responsible. You get a felony. So his mom is looking at some. I don't know if she's going to get charged, but there is a chance. So it's a whole thing. The Kyle Rittenhouse thing is unfortunate. He made a poor choice, but legally he might not have the law on his side, but that's self-defense. If he had been an adult, that's self-defense. In my professional legal opinion. as a police officer who dealt with cases of self-defense. Now, not in that state, but self-defense doesn't appear to be too different in Wisconsin. Where did he get his rifle if his mom didn't give it to him? Oh, a friend in Wisconsin gave him the rifle. Oh, well. Then they could be facing a felony. Whoever gave it to him could be facing a felony. I doubt they're going to make that charge. But I'm not saying, I don't know, there's a lot of, like, Kyle, you idiot that you went and you did that. I'm glad that you thought, you were cleaning up graffiti and all that, but you can't use lethal force to defend property. It was just a bad idea. Kind of like going into a protest with the camera when the protesters were like, no, we don't want cameras here. That's me. I'm talking about me making bad choices. Anyway, you're Bruce Leroy in me. I tried to be as responsible as I could once the fighting started. I know quite a bit about the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, as far as what was available a few weeks ago, as far as information. Are things settling down? Here they are settling down a little bit. Portland, I have no idea. I just stopped paying attention to Portland because it's just nuts. Protesters, the amount have gone down here, although they surge when an event happens. As far as Kyle was on video saying the rifle was to defend himself, not the property, that's fair, but he was there to defend property. So the rifle was to defend himself. Yes, that's absolutely correct. But he was there to defend property. And how is he going to defend property? Probably with a rifle, right? So the choices he was making, risky, legally, pretty risky. Don't bring a skateboard to a gunfight. Yes, if someone, I know there are a lot of people like, oh, he was only attacked after he shot someone. No, he was being attacked before he shot someone. It's unfortunate. And I'm not saying I agree with his ideals, but I understand his claim to self-defense. Just legally, he might not be able to make that claim. Breonna Taylor, did it hurt they settled Civic before criminal? Oh, Breonna Taylor, the problem with the Breonna Taylor thing is that they've been so opaque about all of it, the police. Now, there is a lot of stuff out there that's not correct. For example, the police had a no-knock warrant, but they knocked? That's weird if they had a no-knock warrant. They're saying that they did knock. And the boyfriend of Breonna confirms they knocked, but says they didn't say police. The police say they did say police. Now, it's possible that the boyfriend didn't hear them say police through the door, but also, why would you knock and say police when you have a no-knock warrant? Now, as far as acquiring the no-knock warrant, those are very common when it comes to drug cases. Now, you might say, well, they never found drugs or anything like that in Breonna Taylor's apartment. True. However, there was quite a bit of evidence to include prison phone calls that implicated Breonna Taylor as part of this drug ring. There was a claim that they already had the guy they're looking for in custody. No, they had the main guy they were looking for in custody. The one that Breonna Taylor apparently associated with, that they thought she was holding his drugs and ill-gotten gains for. So the warrant, the no-knock warrant, was for her in her house. So there's a lot of stuff like, oh, the police messed up really, really, really bad. No, all of that's legit. Now, when the police took a battering ram, broke down the door, the boyfriend took out a gun and fired a warning shot, which may or may not have hit an officer in the leg, at which point the officers started firing. That's a reasonable response. What is not reasonable is that the officers blindly fired into the doorway, right? What would have made sense is taking a defensive position and moving this towards more of a hostage situation, where you're trying to talk the guy out of there and explain what's happening. So blindly firing, that's a huge issue. But maybe not criminal, which is one of the reasons it's taking so long, is that the actions may not be considered criminal under that state law. Now, civilly, yes, that's grounds for a huge lawsuit. civilly. But criminally, they may not have met the elements needed to actually charge them with the crime because the warrant was correct, and returning fire when you've been shot at is a reasonable course of action. The only problem is that, the blindly firing the door and then killing someone inside certainly seems like negligent homicide to me. But it really comes down to the reasonableness of the action. And of course, there has to be an investigation as to who actually shot her. Was it the police, or did the boyfriend fire more rounds that that hit her? That has to be established. And it's not like the police officers are really a risk. You don't have to arrest them immediately. I'm going to explain this. It's going to sound really weird until I explain it, and maybe even after I explain it. You have all the information on these police officers. You have, when you're a police officer, they have your address, your phone number, who you associate with. They've done background checks. They may even have your DNA. I know that the military has my DNA. They have a lot of, blood samples of me, that's for sure, and I think some cheek swabs. They can find me, no problem. Social security number, everything. So if I ran, they'd find me if I committed this kind of crime. And I was like, nope, bye. So they don't have to arrest the officers immediately because those officers aren't a threat to the public because they were only a threat while on duty. And when you take them off duty as part of administrative leave, they're no longer a threat. You don't have to arrest them immediately to protect the public. Hold on one second. Now, as far as administrative leave, that happens when you're not sure you can fire a person. Police unions, the whole thing. I don't know much about police unions. I was never part of one. But generally, you can have them not work, but you can't fire them unless you have solid evidence. The officer who fired blindly into the door, he was fired for firing blindly into the door, as is exactly what should have happened, pending criminal charges. But one of the reasons they don't file those charges immediately, when they know the person is not a threat to the public and they have every possible bit of information to track that person down, once you file those charges, the clock starts. Because everyone, including police, they're entitled to a quick and speedy trial, or whatever the correct thing is. Right? There's a limited amount of time to actually file those charges. So sometimes, in cases like this, where it can be very complicated, it makes sense to investigate, get all the information you need, and then press the charges so that you're not scrambling for information because you now have deadlines to meet. A lot of people don't know this, that this is a tactic to ensure that the case is as strong as possible against people, is you don't arrest them, you don't charge them. I mean, you might arrest them, but you don't charge them immediately. Because once you charge them, the deadlines start. The clock starts. And you have a limited amount of time to put together the best possible case. Anyway, while I was rambling about that, what are the comments saying? So to answer the question, is it bad that they settled the civil case first? Maybe. I think it's good that they have a civil case that they paid money, because absolutely money should be paid for that. But the case, there is the potential that it is fairly complex. I wish that the department was more transparent about all of it and talk to the public more about what was happening and explain some of the things I've just explained to you. But unfortunately, they did not do that. And that's a trend that needs to stop. Because, as we see, people don't respond too well to that. All right, the warning shot did hit an officer. I saw some conflicting reports. But yeah, the only officer that blindly fired was Hankinson, who was fired and charged. All right, he was charged. Good. I knew he was fired. I know he was charged. He absolutely should be charged. Now, would he be convicted? He does have some defenses, but I don't think they're terribly strong. What else do we have? Metro State Protection Agent. You know what? If someone from Metro State showed up here in Seattle and was like, let's go to a protest, I would take them up on it. I would absolutely bring them along. I think that'd be amazing. If any of you are in Seattle and are like, hey, let's go to a protest, we could do that. As long as you behave yourself. I'm open to the idea. What else do we have? Oh, Columbine. Yeah, Columbine was nuts. And mass shootings, they don't get that attention anymore. Mass shootings, here's my personal opinion on that, because now I'm just going to ramble. I got nothing else to do. Why not? Um, Mass shootings are a symptom. Gun violence is a symptom. If you want to stop gang violence, we need to push for better education, more money into the education system. Give people an opportunity to turn to activities that are not criminal in nature so that they have a chance to get out of these dangerous areas. They don't need to form the gangs. Police reform, of course. That's important because then it isn't us versus the police. And more like police accountability, right? The public needs to believe, because that's what's happening, that police are being held accountable. There's a lot of that not happening. There's a lot of it happening, and there's a lot of misinformation. But no, there are incidences where police should be held more accountable, and that comes back to education. I think people need to understand how law enforcement works, how the law works, because there are times where the police officer's not being held accountable, when in fact there's nothing to hold them accountable for. What they did wasn't a crime. Their actions were reasonable. That comes back to education. Now, as far as mass shootings, you take away the guns, they're going to turn to bombs. You take away the bombs, they're going to turn to gas. Right? In the 90s, it was bombs. 2000s, it was guns, because that was just what was convenient. These mass shootings are a symptom of mental health issues. We need to target mental health. I don't think we necessarily need to target guns, although I am all for requiring people to get a license like you do with a car, where you prove that you know how to use it, right? I think that's absolutely reasonable to prevent accidental injury. But I think people are focusing on the wrong issue. We need to get to the root of the cause, which is mental health. And we do that. I personally believe that that's going to be a major fix. Now, the problem is it's not going to be a fast fix. We want results now. No, this is going to take 20 years, right, to see a significant change. This is a slow thing. But when you get elected into an office, you're not there. You no guarantee you're going to be there for 20 years. And so if you're not reelected, all your opponent has to say is, oh, this didn't work. We're not going to do that anymore. When in reality, it needs to be in place for a while. So people don't turn to those ideas like, oh, let's fund better education, let's fund more mental health, because it is viewed as a drain economically, because you don't see immediate returns. Oh, but that's a whole thing. The fact that the warrant was old, if it was still, I don't know if it was valid or not. If it was valid, it's fine. If it was not valid, if it expired, that's definitely an issue. They take DNA, so if you are blown up, they can ID the pieces. I have no idea why they took my DNA. Possibly. That wouldn't seem unreasonable. I was just assumed it was in case I became a dangerous criminal. But that's how I think. I think in terms of law, All right, what else do we have? Yeah, we need a lot more study and data on this stuff as well. We do. We need. I love studies. I love reading studies, and case law, which is a lot of people think is incredibly boring, and many times it is. But you'll just come across this little nugget, like, oh, what an interesting way to think about this, and how it affects other things. Like, I mean, read case law, guys. You'll learn so much if you can get through it. And that's not be like, oh, you guys aren't smart enough to get through it. Sometimes it's brutal. There are cases where I struggle. But anyway, what else we got? I'm completely off topic now. Are there any other questions before I end the stream? It has been great, by the way, coming back doing these streams again. This one stream, I say streams as if I'm doing multiple ones. Now, it's been a while. Part of that is I've been working on some of my bigger videos, like the Shake and Bacon. Some of that is my scheduling has just been nuts. A lot of people are like, oh, the coronavirus, I can't get anything done now, or I can get everything done now because, I don't go to work and everything's shut down. I have so much free time. Unfortunately, that's not how my life has been. Mine has, if anything, increased in the amount I'm working. So, not that I'm upset by that. I enjoy my job, but not that I'll tell any of you what it is. But, yeah, my scheduling has been a little weird, and I finally have some time. But, all right. You have to travel for work. Students cities that have had massive riots recently. Any advice for researching a safe place to stay? I'm looking only at hotels that have restaurants. That's good. Stay away from the riot areas. Usually the riots tend to be in the same place. Like here in Seattle, it's by Cal Anderson Park and the East Precinct for the most part. Although if it's different than that, they usually announce it on Twitter. I follow a whole bunch of Twitter accounts, and I get spicy on Twitter, folks. At Sergeant Blue Bacon, I think, if you want to see me getting spicy. They'll usually announce like, "Hey, group, boom, 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 boom." I don't know in your area what that would be. Here we have the Seattle Protest Network, I think, is the one that usually gets funneled through eventually. It will go through other Twitter accounts, but usually gets to that one. And they'll say, we're actually going to be at this park, or we're going to be on this street. Twitter is your friend here to keep tabs on where it's going to happen and what's happening. Monitor the police Twitters as well in the local area. As far as staying safe, if you're in a hotel, don't be on the ground floor. Be near a fire exit if you can. They're probably not going to be able to burn down a hotel, but I always like to be by a fire exit in case something like that happens. I like a good escape route at all times. I always know where my escape route is. That's a really good habit to get into, by the way. But yeah, I would say don't be on the ground floor because you don't want a rock coming through your window, if ground floor is even an option. And just, if you pay attention to yourself, right? If you think something's unsafe about this, get out of there. You might not know what the reason is, but you're going to have this sort of gut feeling. My favorite story about a gut feeling is I was in Italy with my sister. And she is fluent in Italian. It's nuts. She was showing me around. And we encountered a protest about housing prices. About how like the rich were buying up all the houses. And the lower income, the students, whatever, they couldn't afford houses because all the rich owned them. But they weren't living in them. No one was living in them. They were just trying to artificially inflate prices to make money. Which is fairly upsetting. I get it. And there was a protest. We're like, okay, they have signs. It isn't bad. It's just people making their issue known. And as we're walking, I see a guy walk by kind of quickly with his hand in his jacket. Just looks real suspicious. I go, that man has a gun. And my sister goes, no, that's ridiculous. You don't know that. I said, I don't care if I know it or not. That's what it looks like when someone has a gun. We're leaving. He said, no, we're not leaving. And I just walked away. I was like, well, you can find me later. Hope I don't get lost. I don't speak Italian. And I left. Because I don't know if anything happened. I don't know if he had a gun. But trust that gut instinct. Right? Be smart. Don't be like me in this video. Be smart. Situational awareness is huge. It's more important in many cases than the actual place you're in. Right? Don't put yourself in a stupid place. Always know where the exit is. Have at least 2 exits. And if you see any signs of trouble, it's time to go. That's what's going to keep you safe. But yeah, hotels with restaurants. That is an excellent choice because usually they are a little fancier. They will have security. They'll have the right fire suppression systems. They'll be in an area where there probably are police patrolling. Because police response is a big deal. If you're in a sketchy part of the city, the police response might not be that fast. You do want a good police response. What else have we got? I had a gut feeling in Italy. Yes, it was a pizza in my gut. I was feeling it. Where did my dog go? She was so active earlier. I don't know. What else? Did I miss anything? Hey, True Discord, Chevron boys. Congratulations. I'll give you the old blood ranking later. No, I don't do that. By the way, if those of you in the military, there's a tradition when you increase your rank that everyone who outranks you gets to punch you in that rank. Do they still do that? No, wink, because that's hazing. Does it still happen? No. Sometimes the person who is getting the upgrade is like, no, I want to, let's do it. Right? And I'll tell you right now, being punched in the chest hurts. But if you want to inflict that pain, because when I became a specialist, I was like, let's do it. Give me that punch to the chest. One of my sergeants, he slapped the chest, and that was much, much worse. That was a lot. Woo! Anyway, but blood ranking is when you get the rank on your collar, and it's metal, so you'd be wearing your dress uniform, and you take the backings on the pins off, and people slap it or punch it, and it will actually go into your body, those pins. Infantry. That is a not an uncommon thing, theoretically, because it's hazing, so it doesn't actually happen, wink, wink. But they're all like, oh, I'm so tough, you know, beat pins into my body. It sort of stopped happening after a first sergeant used a wooden mallet and ended up breaking someone's collarbone and maybe killing them by accident. And that was kind of the beginning of the end of that tradition in many areas. Bang! It was the whole thing. Chevron boys. What else? What else we got? They take the DNA to clone people. I hope they clone me. That would be fun. No, that would be it. Can you imagine me interviewing myself on this channel? It'd be nuts. We'd just ramble. It would just be off topic immediately. Alright, what else we got? We have any other questions before I get out of here? Knee in the legs? What? You Marines are crazy. Cranny eating, window licking sons of guns. I love you guys, though. Marines are great. I don't think I've ever met a Marine I didn't like. I know there are Marines out there that I do not like, but I don't think I've ever personally interacted with one that was like, I don't like you. What else we got? I'm over here looking at my chat because my light's in the way, but don't mind me. One of their officers has been shot at the protest. Ah! Let's check that out. Of course, one of their officers was shot at the LMPD. LMPD, we say. LMPD. LMPD officer wounded in downtown shooting. Bring this up for you guys. What's the background? We were discussing my my assault and how I have video evidence of it. Right. Yes, here. I can't remember which hand it is because it's reversed for me. Video of my assault. Watch it. It's fun. 8 rated to be a Marine. It's a great use of the acronym, but serious time. Let's see. Demonstration continues following Breonna Taylor decision. Unsurprising. Yeah, we expected that. After months of waiting, a decision finally made in Breonna Taylor's death. No one will be charged in her killing. Okay, so that's what we expected. I don't know if I agree with that necessarily. I think at least negligent homicide charges or manslaughter charges should be pursued, but I don't know. Of the 3 officers in question, only one was indicted, but it was unrelated to her death. So was it for the dangerous shooting as opposed to the actual death itself? Because that would make sense. But is that unrelated? I don't know. Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly and Detective Miles Cosgrove were cleared by the grand jury of any wrongdoing and were found justified in the shooting. As I said before, they were shot at first, but the initial shooting was not unreasonable, which is why the boyfriend's charges were dropped. Because it's like, no, that makes sense. His actions were reasonable. But the police firing back, also kind of reasonable. Here we go. Former officer Brett Hankerson was indicted on 3 counts of wanton endangerment for shots that went into a neighboring apartment that night, occupied by a male, pregnant female, and child. Oh, see that I fully expected that. If he didn't actually shoot Breonna, though, if his bullets, they could track, if they could do the whole bullet analysis, whatever. I've never done bullet analysis, whatever, so that's why I call it bullet analysis, whatever. The forensic, I don't know. If they were able to prove that none of his bullets went into Breonna, I can see that. Sure. And if there was evidence that Breonna was in the way of the shooting, I could understand why charges, I don't know. I don't want to be the guy who's saying, like, yeah, Breonna Taylor, it was fine. No, I'm not saying that. But I am aware of circumstances where this would be an appropriate ruling. Legally. I'm not saying morally it's appropriate. Legally it is. Now, following this, in the state that this happened, no-knock warrants are no longer allowed because of this. So there have been good changes. The Breonna Taylor incident was horrific, and it's terrible. But I'm not saying I don't understand this. I want to make that clear. I don't want to be that guy who's like, yep, good for them. Yay, officers. No, this was a terrible situation that could have been mitigated. Protest activity. Yep. See, Jefferson Square Park has been the epicenter of demonstrations for months. Like I was saying earlier, usually the protests happen in the same place so that everyone knows where to meet. Some of the small fires have been set and people continue through the streets. Curfew is in 1 hour. 2 fires are happening now near Jefferson Square. One is in a trash can, unsurprising. And they've deemed this an unlawful protest. No surprises there because it's not a peaceable assembly anymore. Burning a parking meter, all right. 29 people have been arrested so far. Mayor Fisher Arax, Tark Transit, that's probably public transit, has been canceled, which makes sense. Bashir calls on Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron to release as many findings in the case to the public as possible. I absolutely agree with that. Because if I'm wrong in my guess, because a lot of what I'm doing is guessing about the Breonna Taylor incident, like, okay, well, if this was the circumstance, then technically that would be appropriate, and that ruling would stand, blah, blah, blah. But a lot isn't available to the public, which is one of my main concerns about this, and complaints, is that this needs to be, if the police did something wrong, and that's why they're not releasing things, that's a huge issue. Absolutely not okay. And if that's not what's happening, there are very few reasons not to release it, considering what has happened. Generally, yeah, okay, you want to protect the identity, you want to finish your investigation. There might be information that, out of context, sounds really, really bad. I get that. But, like, at least try to put out stuff to the public more than they have. Several people taken into custody. Another curfew. AG Daniel Cameron explains that Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in the shooting. The one fatal shot that struck Taylor came from Cosgrove. So not the other guy. So not Hankinson's. Hankinson, I guess, didn't shoot her fatally. Which is what I just said. Oh, man, I'm good at this. Yeah, that makes sense. Those charges are absolutely sensible. And depending on where Breonna was when those shots were being fired by Cosgrove, potentially justifiable if she was between the shooter, being the boyfriend who shot in what he believed was self-defense, and the police. If she was in the way, and the police were firing to defend themselves from a shot that was in self-defense, which is also weird. You're not really allowed to fire in self-defense in the first place. Warning shots, which is what was being fired. The first round that was fired by the boyfriend was a warning shot. Those are not usually legally permissible. So it's a whole thing. So the police get fired upon, they fire back. Was Breonna in the way? Or was she out of the way? If she's out of the way, that's a problem. If she was in the way, it starts to make a little more sense. Again, I don't want to be the guy who's like, Breonna Taylor deserved it. That's not what I'm saying. I want to make that very clear repeatedly, again and again and again, every, 5 minutes or so while I'm discussing this. I've hesitated to discuss this because of how strongly people feel about this. And I don't want my words being taken out of context. But I do want to help explain what the situation is legally. Same thing happened with the Ahmaud Arbery thing. I'm not saying that the people who shot him were correct, but legally it makes sense that they weren't charged immediately. But I have a video on that if you want to check that out. Warrant issued. Yep. Grand jury. Investigation. Alright, here we go. LMPD officer wounded in downtown shooting. Spokesperson for Louisville Metro Police Department confirmed the shooting Wednesday evening. That's today. Shooting occurred before 8:30 p.m. around Southbrook and East Broadway, according to initial reports from Metro Safe. I almost said Metro State. Not that this is funny. This is not funny. What on earth is this? That's not going to protect you. Anyway. Shooting comes in after the announcement. And none of the officers were charged with the direct killing. Demonstrators have been gathering. Curfew begins at 9 p.m. Developing story. That's not good. The fact that shooting has started in the crowd. That things are escalating. Hopefully the curfew helps de-escalate it, but me check. Link in the Discord. Oh, speaking of Discord, you guys want to be part of my Discord? Come on in. This link will be good for 24 hours. Oh, I have to sign in. What are my mods? My link in the Discord. It's being weird for me. We discuss all sorts of things in there, and sometimes I get real sassy. It's great. In the Discord, is that the one I just saw? Hold on. Officer shot. All right, here we go. Officer shot per Metro Save 1 LMPD. Officer has been shot at Broken Broadway. This is a look outside view of Al Hospital right now. Oh, there are a lot of police officers there. No other information immediately available, but they do have a news crew head to the scene. Speaking of things happening in Seattle, there was a shooting, or not a shooting, a stabbing. Where'd my internet go? Doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm getting alerts from, Seattle text message system. And they're like, hey, stay away from this area because someone just stabbed a bunch of people, and now it's a hostage situation. I almost went over there, but it's raining, and I don't want rain on my camera equipment. I'm sure they wouldn't let me get that close. So, Discord's in the chat now. And, yeah. Yeah, no, the Breonna Taylor thing, again, guys, it's... I understand. I understand the protesters. I get it. It's a bad situation. But she had ties to drug trafficking. The warrant doesn't seem unreasonable. I'm not a huge fan of no-knock warrants. I know there are situations where they are appropriate. I'm not a huge fan of them. And I have a lot of questions about why they had a no-knock warrant but still knocked. That doesn't make sense to me. I have a lot of questions about that. Returning fire after being shot at. Got it. Firing blindly through a door. Endangering others. The guy's getting charged. I hope he's found guilty if he is guilty. But I need to know more about the positioning of where Breonna was and what was happening before I say for sure what my thoughts are. I would need to review that case, which isn't probably going to happen for a while because this is still an active investigation. I'm not saying the police were right, but I'm saying there are situations where they wouldn't be legally wrong. I don't know if that's what the situation is. I would want to see all those documents, but they are not available yet, so I'm going to avoid jumping into any extreme conclusions. I hope that saves my bacon from people who will try to use my words against me. Oh, Breonna was next to her boyfriend. Okay, so if they're... Okay. Then that would make sense, if that is true. Do I have a public Instagram? I don't, actually. Which is fun, because when I was out filming some of these protests, like, what's your Instagram? Like, I don't have an Instagram. Why would I use Instagram for these videos? Am I out of touch? Or is it the kids who are wrong? Hashtag Simpsons quote. Sick reference, bro. Anyway, no, I don't have an Instagram at all for this channel. I have my Twitter. I have a Facebook account that I don't ever check. And I have this channel. But yeah. Yeah, I think it's important to wait for the facts. Because laws can be very complicated. And they may not be morally correct. But if you believe that the laws are not morally correct, I encourage you to go change them. I encourage you to do that within the correct lawful channels for your own safety. I'm not saying that you have to, but I'm saying that if you do a little bit of studying and learn how to petition to get laws changed, it can be very effective. If you think they're immoral, the laws are supposed to reflect morality, current morality. So morality is fluid; it changes constantly. So there are some old laws that don't reflect current morality that do need to be changed. And I encourage you; it's kind of our civic duty to ensure that the laws do reflect that. So if you think the laws are bad, go out and change them. One of the beautiful things about our government is that it is designed to be changed. Now, I'm not saying I agree with our government all the time. I appreciate the system and how it works. There are a lot of people within the system that I disagree with, and I think the biggest issue with our government is the people in it. No, I'm not giving any names. It's just that people are easily corrupted and can act in their own best interest, and they're not supposed to do that. They're supposed to act in the best interest of the people who elected them, and the idea is that if they do that, then they'll get reelected, and that's their incentive, but it doesn't always work that way. However, if you learn how the system works, if you want to get involved politically, I encourage you to do so. It's great. I know someone in the comments was saying that they're going to become a sheriff. Amazing. Absolutely run for sheriff. I think that's phenomenal. Use your powers for good, though. Right? Interact with the community. Get to know them. Let them get to know you. Make sure you know how the law works, and I think it's incredibly important to study how constitutional law works. It will give you a much more in-depth understanding of how the law is supposed to work and be applied and factor into all sorts of things. It's a whole thing, right? Vote. Don't just vote for the president. Vote for your local officials, because often those actually affect you much more strongly than the president does. And as usual, I'm not going to give my opinions on or my own political views, because I don't think that is incredibly important to this channel. We can disagree politically. That's fine. We don't have to agree on everything. But I will encourage you to be involved, to vote for the person you think best represents you and your community. And vote small, vote big, vote medium, right? Your city council, your governor, your sheriffs, the local judges, up to your congressmen, your senators, and the president. Vote for, make sure you know about all of them. Don't just do the president. Everybody. Yeah, DeWitt does need a Netflix documentary. Complete change of pace. DeWitt needs a documentary, and I need to be in on it. I want to be part of that. Maybe I'll be like, hey, Netflix. Let's start something. They'd be like, who are you? 4,000 subscriber idiot. Nah. It's a whole thing. I haven't seen the most recent DeWitt videos. I've been too busy. But I'm going to get back into that. Once his trial starts, which isn't for another couple months, unfortunately. Once his trial starts, we can get back into DeWitt. Because I don't really want to go after the guy for just a bunch of meh. There's nothing going out there that real world police isn't covering sufficiently. I think RWP is doing just fine with what's being put out. There isn't really much for me to add, so I'm sort of stepping back from that. I think there are a lot of pressing issues like the protests that I can cover better, and that are more important for me to cover at this time. But we'll get back to DeWitt. Don't you worry. And if you miss my DeWitt content, just watch my DeWitt musical again. It's great. I love it. I walked into one of my coworkers watching it. It was like, oh, this is you, isn't it? And I was like, it was awkward. Anyway, any last things before I get out of here? You know how easy it is to get me to ramble. So any last things? Sandy. I always say that if Jeremy ever got lockjaw, he would fart himself to death trying to talk. That should be on a t-shirt. Make little fridge magnets of that. Tantum Report website. Oh, yeah, okay. Tantum Report website. I'll save that. I'll write that down, save that for later. Stand by. Tatum? Alright, I'll give it a look. I'll check it out, see what it is. I don't know if I've heard of that before. Snohomish protest. I don't know anything about this Snohomish protest. What's going on? Tell me about that. Alright, we're going to move this so I'm not constantly looking back and forth. Well, no, there goes that. There we go. Alright, there's my chat. Hello, Nicole, from Danny. How'd I do? Did I get it right? Is that... We good? Did I do it? Do you need another take? That was the part. For those of you watching this out of the fact, this is the part where it's sort of, I mean, it's already been like this, but this is where there's going to be a lot of dead air, meaning I just sort of sit and wait for the chat to say things. Because these streams are designed for me to interact directly with chat. I can't speak. Words are hard. I'm just going to, I'm not going to leave. These are less fun when you're not watching it live. They're designed to be watched live. So for those of you complaining like, this guy doesn't, there's so much dead air. Yes, because I'm waiting for you guys to talk to me. That's how this works. It's ridiculous. I say it every time, but they still complain. Where was I? Tatum Report, Breonna Taylor. It's tough read, worth it. Okay. All right, I'll take that recommendation. I'd rather hear it from me than RWP. I mean, fair. We'll get around. We'll talk about some stuff. I'll check his stuff. I'll see if there's something I can put together. Yeah, most gaming streams are dead air. That's fair. I've tried to do some gaming streams just for my own amusement, but for some reason, there's a lot of weird frame rate dropping shenanigans. Yeah, Dog wants me to not go to more protests. That is true, which is why I'm not going to go into the protests. It's going to be very much on the outskirts with people to drag me away to keep me from going in. If I ever go back. If. Where'd she go? She's still on. She's gone outside. Alright. Yeah, I miss doing the police stuff too. Doing investigations. Ugh. Being in the middle of stuff. Yeah, it probably is my GPU. It's an older GPU. I've been thinking about rebuilding this computer. Maybe someday. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. You guys have been great. It's been great to be back. Hopefully I'll have some more stuff for you soon. We'll see. I can't promise anything, but I'm still around. I'm still doing this. Don't worry. Discord somewhere in the area. You want to chat more. I'm much more active on Discord than I am on YouTube as for the last few weeks. I should do more MP story. I should do more story times. I mean, I bought that jacket. I might as well use it. We're gonna do another story time. We are. It's a good idea. I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, so it's been great. You guys have been fantastic. So as per usual, until the next time, be good and stay safe. And there's the thumbs.